Welcome, everyone. Appreciate you joining us for the Unite conference. Excited to have all of you with us here today to really explore and understand where the market is headed, some of the great things that are happening in our space. We're in an unprecedented time that really creates immense opportunity for us to really change and improve how we're operating our businesses. We at Quisitive are super excited to have all of you join us here and really explore throughout the day today the technology changes as well as the business and operation opportunities that we see in the market and how you guys can benefit from our partnerships with Microsoft and others as we bring these capabilities to you and your business. First, I want to start with we're really proud to be your trusted partner. For many of you, we've been working together for well over 20 years and appreciate and thank each and every one of you for the opportunity to be your business partner. Others joining us today, you're new to us, and hopefully throughout the day today, you're going to learn about who Quisitive is and how we can really bring value to your business, both operationally as well as bringing technology into your business and approach. When we start to talk about winning together, we really believe that our ability to help you make that happen transcends across many things. And it starts with, we are a full service partner. We have a unique set of skills across functional expertise, technical expertise, and can help advise you on where and how to bring technology into the market and into your environment, but also how to operationally make it effective and manage that in a go-forward motion. So we'll talk a little bit about that throughout the day today as we explore some of the different ways that Quisitive works with our customers and our partners to help make that happen. We are experts in cloud technologies and how to bring them into an organization, in particular for finance and operations, as we've got deep experience in doing that across not only Azure and all the things from data, security, and infrastructure, but also within M365 and managing your environments and improving and operationalizing workflows and automation as appropriate. And then certainly ERP and CRM platforms to really help you take advantage of the information and data and bringing that together with all the other things happening in your environment as it exists. We also have a significant amount of our own IP that we bring to bear, both industry across healthcare and manufacturing and retail and others that help complement the technologies through our partners, as well as integrating that into your environment. Certainly can't go a day without talking about AI, and certainly bringing AI together across all the things that we're doing is an important part of who we are and what we're about. Our partnership with Microsoft, we'll talk a bit more about, the leader in bringing AI to the marketplace and certainly embedding it in their tools across Copilot and others, but also thinking about how do you take advantage of that in unique ways within your business and operations to improve close cycles, to really optimize your environment. We'll talk more about that, and our teams will bring you insight to make that happen. Certainly, our goal is to become your trusted partner, as I mentioned earlier, and being able to do that, we hold ourselves accountable to that, and that accountability is really led to great retention of our customers over time. We work together with you not only to implement new technologies, but be there with you along your journey to help you take advantage of new things that might be coming to market, to overcome obstacles, and certainly help you and create improved efficiencies within your environment. We have different delivery models across sophisticated implementation services of ERP and CRM and other complex systems, to being able to manage and monitor your environments in the cloud. Certainly security is a big piece of that as we think about how do you bring together all of this and protect your business and your proprietary data to make sure that in this new era of AI that those bad actors out there aren't getting access to your information, and we can help secure and bring your environment up to speed to be able to be trusted and have great posture to be able to manage and operate. So when you talk about Microsoft partnership, there's lots of people that are partners. And in our business, we are really set at differentiating ourselves as one of the top partners in North America. Certainly, there are all kinds of designations, and we have a host of those across all the solution partner capabilities that Microsoft has put into place, and we have all 6 of their core capabilities. But across these advanced specializations, everything from data and infrastructure and security, AI and bringing it to life within the data construct, certainly Dynamics 365, and being able to bring all of those technologies together in a way that really add value to you and your business. We've been very blessed to be awarded many awards by Microsoft, including over the past many years, Partner of the Year awards about how we help our customers use Microsoft technologies and apply those to business problems and create business outcomes with and for our customers. As you go through the day today, one of the things you're going to find is that there's a lot of content, and I encourage you to look over the schedule to know and understand the various topics being covered throughout the day and how you can take advantage of learning from both the experts inside our company, our partners, as well as things happening in other places in the industry. So take a look at this and make sure that you take advantage of this unique day that we've put together. A lot of great work has been put into this, and want to make sure that you get the most of your time as part of our Unite conference. When you're navigating this throughout the day, be thoughtful of the kinds of things that you're responsible for within your environment, whether it's around cash flow management, close cycles, really being able to do the different things, and how technology and some of the things that are happening can help aid that. Again, we believe that there's a unique set of opportunities today, blending the sophistication of cloud technologies, bringing together all the things happening from an AI perspective, and blending those together. And our goal is to help you meet you where you are at today and help you take the steps along the journey that you need and want in your environment, and feel like we've got a unique set of capabilities and expertise, and you're going to learn a lot about that today through our team members. Some reminders as you do go through the sessions. Make sure you ask questions. There's going to be chat sessions available in each of the sessions you're in. Ask those questions and try to get the answers that you have specifically addressed. Certainly, you won't be able to take advantage of every one of the opportunities because of the schedule. They all are recorded, so they're going to be available to you to take and consume at a later date and integrate those into your thought processes. Certainly, as we go forward, there are some prizes available to you. So as you continue to integrate into the process, make sure you're submitting surveys. Those surveys are your mechanism to have chances to win the prizes after the event continues and completes today. I do want to take a moment and thank all the presenters from our Quisitive team that have played an important role in preparing for your day today, and will bring great value to you as we go through the process together. These folks are some of the best and brightest in the industry, across technology, across industry and functional expertise. And I think you're going to find great value in the content they bring to you, as well as the opportunity to get to know and interact with them, and hopefully keep an ongoing dialogue with them after the sessions today, which we welcome the opportunity to do with and for you. I also want to take a moment to thank our sponsors who have played an important role in putting the Unite conference together, as well as many of them are presenting throughout the day as well, and encourage you to take advantage of those sessions that they're presenting to help share their technologies and capabilities. These partners are an important part of how we bring our services to you, not only our Microsoft partnership, but all of these great vendors and suppliers of services and capabilities that we integrate together to bring value to you. And certainly want to, again, thank them for their participation in the event, and encourage you to reach out and connect with them as well. So today is going to be an exciting day. Our teams have put a lot of time and effort in. We thank you for having the interest to join us for the sessions today. We know you're going to get a lot out of these sessions, and really appreciate the opportunity to share our story, as well as share our insights and expertise with you for this event. Thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this, and look forward to the opportunity to learn more and interact with you in the future. Okay, well, after all that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to introduce you to our keynote speaker today, talking about navigating the AI maturity in 2024 and beyond. Our speaker today is Jimmy Ledbetter. He leads our AI strategy and services business here at Quisitive, and has great background in knowing and understanding technology, but more importantly, AI and where it's headed and how to apply it to create business outcomes. With that, I'll turn it over to Jimmy and ask him to share his vision and thoughts around AI in the current context and the future. Thank you.
Mike, thank you so much for that warm welcome. And everybody, I want to welcome you to Quizzitive Unite. So as Mike said, my name is Jimmy Ledbetter, and I am the VP of AI Strategy and Solutions here at Quizzitive. So a little bit about me. I've been in the field of advanced analytics for over 20 years. So I primarily stood up data warehouses and data science divisions nationwide. During that time, I fell in love with data. So I actually went and got my master's in data science, and I'm working on a PhD in the same thing. As far as AI, where did that come from? So I was been familiar with the model since about 2018, back when they did kind of stupid human tricks. They did some formatting and some interesting ideas, but they really came to life for me when in late 2022, when I was sitting at a board of directors meeting, and we were all talking about the 3.5 models, and we said this is going to change everything, and I haven't talked about anything since. So been fortunate enough to work with Microsoft on their go-to-market strategy. So I worked with several talented teams there. That led into over 1,000 calls in 2023 around generative AI. And more importantly, how can we do it at scale? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the history here in a little bit, but I got to sit with 33 of the Fortune 50s, and just talking about what the strategy looks like, and it's just been a very, very enriching time. So but today during this speech, we're going to talk about like what's happened, where, when, what the future looks like, and what you all should be thinking about. So I want to start off with a comment, a quote that I saw that actually kind of made me laugh a little bit, but I think it made sense, and that was by Deepak Chopra. All great changes are preceded by chaos. If anybody has been following generative AI recently, it's been a little chaotic. I mean, nobody was even talking about AI in 2022 early on. And now I can't go into, I love to go to like the Disney theme parks. I can't even walk into Epcot and not hear at least a dozen people talking about it. And I really want to jump into those conversations, but I can't. But it took the world by storm. But let's talk about what got us up to this point. I started saying things happened in 2022. What did that look like? So I made myself a little chart here. So I called 2022 the year of AI. What? People weren't talking about it. It showed up very, very late in the year. There really wasn't, a whole lot around it. But then early 2023, it started getting interesting, and what people were talking about was, is this going to be another blockchain? There's a lot of comparisons behind blockchain, and the leaders I was sitting with were saying, there's just a huge hype cycle behind this, that there's nothing really to it. And that was early 2023. And as we started showing people in real time what could happen, the hype it didn't start to dissipate, but it started to show the way to what happens next is we have to productionalize this. And that's where I'm calling 2024 is the year of productionalization. That is something that we are looking at as, how do we actually do something with this? Every single board of directors is saying, I have to do something with AI. But this is the year we actually need to be doing that thing. So we need to be budgeting for it. We need to be laying out the the architectures, etc. So the tech grew since 2022. So in 2022, and even early 2023, we were mainly focused with the chat. We could ask it all sorts of neat questions. We could ask it everything from, can you give me a code recommendation to, I'm a red wine fan. Can you give me a recommendation on a red wine from Napa Valley? So that was when I say stupid human tricks, that's kind of one of the first things that we saw. And then we came into, they started saying, well, this is interesting, but this won't get usable until I can use my data. Because at the time, the data in the LLMs, or the large language model, which powers the entire generative AI movement, it's dated. So until I have my information, it doesn't do anything with that. So 2023 led to the year of the RAG, which I always think is the worst acronym on the face of the planet, but that's okay. It's here to stay. That's Retrieval Augmented Generation. That is, how do I basically turn this into the library where I can say, okay, large language model, go out, go sort through all the data, give me the relevant information, and return with my answer. That was what 2023 was about, and still into 2024. But now we're starting to get into very, very interesting things now where, that's not as good anymore. We want to make it do something. And we're going to talk about this in great detail. How can I make this go out and augment data? How can I go grab current data? How can I make it run a machine learning workflow? It's all doable. So those orchestrations and agents are what we're seeing in 2024 and carrying into 2025. OpenAI grew, over the years. So it started off with the 3.5 model, which was the first one that really people were getting used to. GPT-4 took the world by storm in 2023. And then in 2024, we now have the GPT-4o, that's lowercase o for Omni. And that's the one, if you've seen any of the demos, people are talking to it. They're able to interrupt it. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of interesting interactions there. What also was interesting is, unlike blockchain, where blockchain was a technology, now we have large customers coming into, I want to compete with OpenAI. So we started with like Hugging Face, had some interesting models. Hugging Face is open source, so there's things that we can add in there, looking for like scores and stuff like that. Google, Anthropic, Meta, Mistral, all of them came out of the woodwork in 2023, and they all said, hey, we got to get in here. So Google started with Bard, Anthropic did Claude. In 2024, Google changed Bard into Gemini. Claude moved up into 3. Meta came up with 3. Microsoft has come up with a really great idea behind the small language model, also known as Phi. And that's something that we're taking a lot of interest in, because that's something that we can run inside of a container, and so we might be able to keep our information in there and it doesn't go anywhere. So they're thoroughly thinking about what's happening. But this is a real quick roadmap of what we were thinking before. But now, who happened in AI? So there was a study done by Microsoft, and I wanted to share some statistics around how people have been working with generative AI. So I'll include a link to the study at the end, but there's some really great statistics in here, because technology adoption is typically slow, except for generative AI. It has been one of the biggest, fastest moving behemoths we have ever seen. So in this study, we're looking at over 85% of Gen Z are using generative AI in some form or fashion. And as you see in this chart here, we go from Gen Z, the millennials hit about 78%. There's a very minor drop off between the millennials and the Gen Xers. But what's really interesting to this is there's a fairly minor drop off with the boomers. So this is something where if you ask somebody, how quickly did they adopt the internet, how quickly did they use it? I'm going to date myself, like Netscape or AOL. You wouldn't have had nearly these close-knit numbers. But generative AI has been so easy to use that we're seeing all of the generations are grabbing it. And not only are they grabbing this, they're working with it. Did you know that 75% of people are already using generative AI at work? That's a staggering number. So when you think that 3/4 of your staff are using it in some form or fashion, that tells you that you really need to take this seriously. What's really interesting about this is 46% of them started using this less than 6 months ago, and this study came out back in May. So this is still relatively new information. We're talking the very tail end of 2023, with people started saying, I'm going to use it, and now we're up to 75% of people are adopting it. People are using it so much right now that people are asking in the interview process, do I get to use this? 66% of leaders said that they would not hire somebody without AI skills. Well, Jimmy, what are AI skills? Well, I think we're still kind of defining that. When we talk about AI skills, really what we mean is prompting. And prompting is how do you talk to the model. So 66% of people have to have at least that form of knowledge. And again, it's very easy to do. There are certain ways to learn how to do it. You just you don't want to do one sentence prompts, but you can add more to this. Leaders say early in career talent will get 77% of leaders say that early in career talent will get greater responsibilities due to AI. This is something as I've been fortunate enough to speak at several conferences and at several universities. I've been telling everybody it's upskilling you. So your junior analyst is now becoming your senior analyst. Your senior analyst is now becoming your principal. Your principal is now becoming your fellow. It's really allowing people to upskill uh, those use case those workers in a way that we've never seen before. You couldn't have handed somebody in the late 90s the internet browser and say, you know what, I want to go ahead and upskill you. It just wasn't possible. It is very, very possible right now. It's so important right now that 71% of leaders right now are saying they are likely to hire a less experienced person with AI skills than a more experienced person without them. So that's how much interest we're putting into. So if you're talking about like the coder, they're saying, maybe I can hire somebody who I can look at somebody and maybe a little newer in the career and bring them up to speed, or maybe I could take somebody later in life and put them up to the principal level. So it's fascinating to me how we've been able to see this move us into the next league of work adoption. Now, let's talk about the areas that are adopting AI. So I've been very, very fortunate. I've talked to thousands of clients over the past year and a half. And these are some of the statistics that we're seeing right now. So administrative and support services. So back office is really experiencing a lot of uptick in the use of generative AI. Documentation, folks, I will be the first one to tell you I'm awful at documentation. I hate it. I've hated it my entire life. Now I can actually take my thoughts, put it into generative AI, and crank out high quality documentation in minutes in something that used to take me hours, if not days. I found it interesting that real estate came in at one of the top, which makes sense. I'm friends with a lot of real estate companies. They are, like they were talking about, being able to feed in their data. Remember, I told you earlier, we're augmenting with our data, but, helping people find the houses that they want to use and being able to use a chatbot to say, instead of me looking at a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, I would really rather see a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. Instead of going through the whole search criteria again, you're just doing it in natural language. And I put entertainment providers. That is one that they're, like we're sitting there with like a lot of the theme parks are starting to use it. And then retail and professional services are the other two that I'm seeing a lot. Retail, how do you have that tailor-made experience to when you walk in that door and ask, hey, this is what I'm looking for. No, maybe not like that. Maybe change the color, or maybe give me an idea if this comes in a different size. And then it speaks to me where I'm at. I think that it's interesting that these are some of the areas that are really adopting AI at scale. So what top jobs? I was just talking to you about how hiring was happening. Who are the jobs using it? So content writers. So right now, 33% of all the jobs we're seeing are going into some type of content writing. Now, what a lot of people worry about is like, well, is a content writer out of a job? No, it's really just a mentor. It's taking that idea and sculpting it. It's letting them get rid of the mundane piece of their job and get to the piece that they truly enjoy doing. It might not be the fact finding and the building of the outline and everything like that as a speaker, I personally hate doing. It's putting all of that. Here's all my facts together. Like give me an outline on this. One of my favorite generative AI tricks is, hey, do a mind meld where I say, hey, give me the top 7 ideas and the sub ideas behind this. And it lets me go ahead and start researching there and generating that content. But I still have to understand my subject matter. So we're not at the point where AI is going to take over everything, but it's absolutely augmenting us and letting us do what we like to do and getting rid of that mundane piece of our work. That's what's making things so exciting right now. Now, in the middle of 2023, people came to me, and large companies. I'm sitting at the board tables with a lot of them, and they're saying, hey, we have to do something with AI, and what are we going to do next? So I took it upon myself to say, you know what? Let's make a maturity curve. So this is actually something that I've shared with several companies where I want to talk about like what AI can do, what some of the use cases are, what some of the pitfalls you're going to see, and just some interesting facts about it. So how are you going to start thinking about AI? Because the one thing that I would really tell everybody when you're thinking about AI, think of AI as a platform. Really, it's you've got these models and then you've got this data. You want the two to talk together. Well, think about this. You've got models in Power BI that sit on data that you build a dashboard around. It's a lot of the same ideas. It's how do we combine two technologies together and really get a quality response. So here's my AI maturity. So we're going to talk about 4 things, even though there are 5, because 5's not coming until 2025, but we'll still talk about it. So the first thing is we'll talk about chat, intelligent documentation, orchestrations, multiple agents, and then finally we'll tease out what does intelligent applications look like? What do they look like? Okay, now chat is by far the most popular thing, and it was really the reason why um, it took the world by storm. Was it was so easy to use. My wife hates it when I tell this story, but I have to tell it anyway. So I remember when I thought AI had really hit the world was because I was sitting next to her on the couch, and she looked over at me and she said, "Honey, have you heard of ChatGPT?" To which I responded, "Obviously, you don't know what I do for a living." And she just kind of smirked at me. She goes, like, "What are you using ChatGPT for?" She was like, "Well, I saw it on one of my favorite TV shows. And so now I'm digging through it and I'm asking it all sorts of cool stuff." And I literally saw my wife just having fun chatting with it. And this was in late December of 2022. And I was like, this is interesting. So now you all know my dirty story. So don't tell my wife if you ever see it. We'll just pretend we didn't say that. So again, we're chatting with the large language model. We're asking it, its opinion. We're asking it to return something, like, hey, what would a CEO think about this? Give me a recipe for brownies. Hey, I want to take my tax records and I want to qualify this expense as a business expense. Does it make sense in my state? That's what chat did. The difficulty is very simple. It's very simple. Anybody who you can fire up a sandbox, and I am a big fan of firing up sandboxes, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But anybody could do it. There are issues though. There's a lack of understanding of how prompts work. Anybody on here will tell you all my jokes are bad, and this is especially bad. Not knowing how to communicate the models is kind of like talking to your kids. If I say, "Did you clean your room?" I'm going to get yeah or no. Well, that's not very helpful. Did you clean your room? How long did it take? What's your next task? Why, yes, Father, I cleaned my room. I put my stuffies on my bed. I made my bed. I cleaned up my floor. It took me an hour and a half. And my next task is I'm going to go clean the bathroom. Just by adding that key piece into the end about what did you do, I got that response that I wanted. And I'll tell you that most people, and I won't make up a stat for you, but just everybody I'm seeing, they're asking 1-sentence questions and they're getting 1-sentence responses. And then they're saying it doesn't work. You've got to be more verbose with that. People don't understand what data is available. So sometimes they don't understand that you can actually chat with that model and say, "Hey, what do you know? Tell me what you've got. And then let me go ahead and put it together." That's always an interesting thing. And then hallucinations. Everybody is a hallucination expert. So a hallucination is where I don't ask a good question and then it tells me something that is completely false, where it says something with great authority and it ends up being wrong. It's not the model's fault. It's we didn't ask the right amount of questions. Now we'll get into in the next one how we can really get around this. So what's the use cases behind some of this? Or some interesting facts. Did you know you could chat with billions of personalities? And I'm going to talk about those a little bit later. So you could talk to your favorite CEO, you could talk to your favorite comedian, you could talk to anybody you want to. You could talk about historical data, not current data. Remember, in just the world of the LLM, and you're just going out, it has a cutoff point because at the end of the day, it is a model that has been trained on a large amount of data. So that being said, it's got to cut off someplace. So there are tools where you can go and get more up-to-date data. We'll talk about that when I talk about orchestrations. But if you were just to sit down with the base prompt, you can say, "Hey, tell me about the Chicago fire." It would give you everything it knew about that. If you were to ask about the current election cycle, most of them will not be able to tell you that. Now, here's the final interesting fact. Do you know how you can tell it to communicate back to you? You can tell it, "I need you to speak in this way. I need you to give me concise paragraphs. I need you to use bullet points. I want you to use a Southern twang." Doesn't matter. You can tell it, "This is the kind of output that I want you to use. I want you to spit something out in a CSV format. I want you to format something that would look good when I copy and paste this into PowerPoint." All of that is very, very, very doable in the prompts, and most people aren't doing that. Now, sliding up the maturity curve a little bit, this is where these first two, I would say, are where probably 80% of my customers sit. This next one is intelligent documents. And this is to augment the model with your data. Now, I use the term augment and I use it very, very specifically. We are not training the model. If anybody here has a background in traditional machine learning, you know that to train a model, you feed your data in and then your data becomes part of the model. Well, we don't want that. We augmented, retrieval, augmented generation. We can give it a repository to say, go look over here and give me the answer. Just like back in the library days where you used to go to the card catalog, find the card, which took you to the book. Same idea. So now you can actually go into this library and it will give you the information, but it doesn't ever train the model. Now, that's where I'm a big fan of using something like Azure. We know Azure doesn't train it. Some of the other models, if you're using their commercial or their consumer version, remember, if you're not paying for something, most times you are the product. So be careful, make sure your security team is aware of what tools you're using. But the good thing is Azure, there's no write back. It physically cannot write back to the model. So that's always good. So the main issues that people are having is they're trying to store too much or too little data, or irrelevant data. The one thing I always like to say is put in enough information into the model that, think about this like you're prepping a witness for a stand and they're getting ready to testify. Give them everything that they need to know about this. Nothing more, nothing less. Give them all that information, and then you are going to have the most perfect person, because it's going to be what we call grounded on that truth. So by giving it that information, it's not going to make something up. It's just going to go back to this corpus of data and say, oh, here's where I got the answer. And you can actually have solutions. We do it here all the time that says, oh, here's where I got that information. People training the model with corporate data. I was just talking about that. Be careful if people are using the consumer versions of these. And security misunderstandings. I was actually reading an article this week where they were talking about, the large language models don't have security built into it. That's a true statement. That is a very true statement. The good thing is a lot of these partnered with everybody, with other teams. OpenAI partnered with Microsoft. So where OpenAI does not have native security functionality built into the model, Azure sure as heck does. So that's why you have that partnership. That's why they're better together, because I can secure my data on both sides. But we have a lot of people who don't understand it, and then therefore they say you can't use it. So understand that there are ways to handle security, and we do security assessments and help everybody with that. But that's one of the biggest misconceptions I've seen. So we've talked about what RAG architectures are, but what can you put in there? Why are these models so interesting? I'm an old data guy, so I got really, really good about turning data into rows and columns. I was fantastic about it. Somebody ever tried to put a PDF in front of me? That just wasn't going to happen. That's where LLMs really kicked in, was they could read all these other data sources. So they could read unstructured text documents, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Markdown files. Those are readily available for you to pick up and read. And you don't have to go through any special formatting. When I used to work in the banks, we would have to go through and try to find specific fields and again, get them back into rows and columns. Now I could just take an earnings report and put it in there and it's ready to go. It does handle structured data though. It does handle Excel. It can pull data out of databases. I prefer to have some cleanup on the data. When I say that, what I mean is think about prepping the data out of SQL like you would an Excel file. Don't make it try to understand how to write the query. Just give it what the final output looks like, and it does a fantastic job of that. The new 4Omni model, it actually can handle audio. If anybody ever saw that video, it's fantastic. A guy is speaking with the model and they're going back and forth. He's interrupting it. It understood his tone of voice, which is huge. So there are models that can do that. Images, it can handle images, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second. You can send it, pictures. I've worked on solutions before where we sent pictures of a floor on the manufacturing floor, and somebody asking, is everybody wearing their safety gear? And it'll say, hey, the person up here is not wearing their hard hat. Or you can give it a complex set of instructions. You can take a picture of a traffic post, and it has all your when you can and when you cannot park there. It'll tell you when you can park there. You can even take pictures of inventory and say, hey, what's inventory is here? Try to convert that back into rows and columns. That would have taken me forever. Video, only in transcripts. It's coming, but right now we still have to transcribe the data and get it out. But, as soon as I say this, it'll probably be readily available. But right now, extracting the transcript out of the video is the way to get information out of video. Now, the next thing I think is just really interesting. Just want to give you some use cases. Everybody looks at dashboards. And so what a lot of my customers are doing is, well, I got to go get the data out of the dashboard and put it into the model. Why not just export the dashboard as a PDF file? You absolutely can do that. And I've done it before. I was blessed to speak at a conference where I actually took 6 copies of a dashboard each month. And I was able to ask it, hey, what trends do you see in all 6 of these? What's the story we're trying to tell? And the best thing is my master's is in human-centered design, so it's data storytelling. So I think that one of the worst storytelling techniques on a dashboard is a pie chart. I hate them. So I've seen people with pie charts try to say, well, this piece is this big, this piece is this big, this piece is this big. It just messes things up. Using the vision, it was able to take all 6 of those pie charts and say, hey, this is what the trends are I saw in each one of those. It's fascinating now. We can actually take that finished result, and that is now something that we can use as an input. And finally, it is very much worth repeating because security is the #1 concern. And at Quizzitive, that's something we take very, very seriously. That's why we have dedicated security people here. Security is built into the application layer. That's why everything's better with Azure. We can secure the vector store, which is the AI database, which is a new piece. We can support your applications. So that way, even if somebody did access the large language model, they would say, hey, tell me about how much this person's making. It's going to say, I don't know this data because it was secured on the application side. So security is built into the platforms now. So make sure as you're doing this AI journey, you're thinking about that holistically, including those application pieces. Now what we're doing is we're going to get into a couple that's more in the future, the art of the possible, but some of the things I'm more interested in. The next step is orchestrations. And orchestrations are, I want the AI to do something. I want it to access machine learning models. I want it to use scripts. Again, back to the bad jokes. One of the things is the LLM doesn't math good. It doesn't, but Python does really well. So how can I do a handoff between the two? How can I keep that human in the loop? How can I email something and say, hey, a workflow is done. I need you to check on it and keep that human in the loop. Remember, these are co-pilots, not autopilots. You can also break down complex methodologies into very, very simple. I'm going to talk about that here in just a moment. The main issues here is, and this #1 is, if I was sitting at every single customer, I will tell you that this is probably one of the biggest things that I see as an issue, is most people don't understand their own internal processes. We have to be able to tell the model step by step how to do something. And most times it's like, oh, I know person X who sits in finance, and they just do it. And then they've got all that tribal knowledge. And so I'll walk them through an exercise that says, hey, let's document that process and then put it together. It's amazing how few people really know all their internal processes. So most people confuse generative AI and machine learning. Remember, generative AI is conversational. Machine learning is, I want a very fixed response. I want to take a specific set of variables and do a prediction on it, for example. They're not one and the same. They're complementary. Now, don't get me wrong. They can absolutely work together, but they're two different things. And then prompt engineering. Notice I've said that a couple of times so far, but people not knowing how to use the prompts. So what can we do with these orchestrations? So I gave you all just a couple of examples. So for example, you can make the LLMs use other technologies. You can web scrape. So a few months ago when I was showing this and the models weren't updated, if anybody here's a big NFL fan, I'm a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. My daughter's a big Taylor Swift fan. So I was saying, at the time I was asking the model, who's going to show up at the Kansas City Chiefs game? And the model should have told me Taylor Swift, but it didn't understand it. Well, you can absolutely have different areas that go out and scrape data. It could go to like NFL.com or something and say, oh, Taylor Swift showed up at all these meetings. You can go to your regulatory agencies and say, hey, I need to download the documents on this 501c3. I can go to Yahoo Finance and I can grab what the stock tickers look like. Those technologies are available now to where we can augment the data with more real-time information. And again, back to Python and R. They are fantastic for advanced analytics. The part where the large language model fails, it can actually stop and say, hey, you go do what you do well, and then bring it back to me. Again, SQL, we can tell it pre-program SQL if we want to and say, hey, go out and run this query against our database and augment it with our data. And some things people don't really know is that also some of these things can run JavaScript with integration into your different web services and APIs. So it actually can act, using APIM, it can go through and hit all these different APIs. So it's interesting to see people starting to think outside of the LLM and really using the large language model as an orchestration tool. You could also make the large language model follow a certain set of steps. Now, this is one that is very near and dear to my heart. I was working with a company that had an underwriting process, and we were able to, in natural language, tell it follow these steps. We don't do it all in one prompt. That's the absolute wrong way to do this. But we were like, step 1, I need you to pull the person's first name. It should be formatted as this: Ledbetter, comma, Jimmy M. I need you to pull the birth date. It needs to be formatted month, day, year. And we broke it down into these bite-sized steps, and we got to where we were doing over, I believe it's close to 400 steps, and it did it without a hitch. So now we're taking these workflows. So that's why you got to know how to document your processes. If you know how to do that, then you can start breaking these down into smaller workflows and getting them to work through. It's a great way to start going through your tech debt, because right now somebody's putting it together. And so going through those steps is something that AI is doing a really good job when it comes to orchestrations. And then again, you can start making AI and ML work together. You can actually start with a file, ask, have a conversation with it. Remember, that's what you're doing, is you're having conversations with these documents and say, hey, based on this conversation, extract out these fields, feed it into your ML model, and then have a conversation with the outputs. That's always a great way to look at it. So I would say probably 10 to 20 of my percent of my customers are getting there, but I will guarantee by the end of the year that is something that people will want to do. But then there's something else after that. And that is multiple agents. So what an agent is an agent is a persona. Remember I told you earlier we could have you talk to all of these different personalities? Well, here's $1 million question. Why can't they talk to each other? The answer is they absolutely can. And this is where we are seeing some fascinating work. And I'm going to give you an example of here. You could actually have a CEO and a CFO and a real estate agent. This is one that I actually did where I was trying to see would they fight with each other. So I was saying, hey, this is the company you're working for. We're on some hard financial times. Somebody wants to open a new office. Talk amongst yourselves. The CEO and the CFO were both in 100% agreement that this was a bad time for us to be even thinking about this. Well, the real estate agent really wants his or her commission, so it kind of tried to spin it in a very positive light. At the end, they overrode each other, but we actually got them talking to each other. Coders, developers, all of these multiple agents, we can absolutely put them together and have them start talking to each other. The problems is again, people can't describe what experts are needed. The processes are not clearly defined. And please, hint, star, this is on the final. Don't try to keep the human out of the loop. I just told you we could do orchestration. Send an email to somebody, keep them in the loop. These are co-pilots, not autopilots. And again, because I'm trying to get it on every slide, prompt engineering, that seems to be the issue. Now, I want to talk about what's coming in the future. And so the last one is intelligent applications. So we're not here yet. But you will be able to say, in June of 2024, I heard this guy talking about intelligent applications, and here's what he meant. We are going to get to where we can start embedding generative AI into our applications and have it start recommending its own code fixes. Feeding in the logs and saying, hey, what's the issues with this? Looking at the chats, looking at those prompts and saying, what are my customers asking over and over again? Is it time to make a new application? We've seen that happen a couple of times where we've saved chats out for different customers and we actually asked the LLM, what are some opportunities for a new application? And then again, back to those multiple agents, can you start drafting what that looks like for me? So between like the chats, the documentation, the orchestrations, the agents, that's all going to lead to very intelligent applications. And again, back to people are worried about the jobs. I wouldn't be. We're taking the mundane pieces out of people's life and really getting them back into the creative piece. It's doing good work, but we still have to have our coders. We still have to have people really in this working and massaging these applications to make them work better. So I've told you all of this great stuff. And so now the next question is, well, how do I get ready for AI? Well, I am actually doing an entire session on this. So I will just go to this. This is probably a shameless plug for it, but show up to my next session and I'm happy to talk to you about how you can get yourself ready for AI. And here's the thing about it. People are all saying, well, my data is not ready for it. Nobody's data is 100% ready for this. So remember when I told you earlier, you're feeding in relevant information. You're not feeding all of it. I remember in my old data days, it's like I needed everything in the data warehouse. That's not what you need here. You need relevant data. So don't let your data estate scare you. It shouldn't. I've seen people who I've looked at their data estate and thought, holy smokes, this is what a data dumpster fire looks like. And they still did some amazing AI workloads. So the steps I'm going to talk about is, identifying the use cases, defining your processes, gathering that relevant information, defining the data interpretation for AI, and determining your actionable outcomes. It's really not hard, folks. It's just finding the ways that you can partner internally or you can partner externally. So in closing, what's next? What do you need to think about for the rest of 2024? So here is what I would recommend is make sure you form an AI, and I'm going to throw in buzzword bingo because I've thrown a lot of buzzwords at you today, an AI center of excellence, community of practice, think tank, what have you. Get those people together and let them be talking about these use cases, because the worst thing that's going to happen, and folks, it is happening right now, is shadow AI is happening because we're not taking and putting our smart people together and saying, let's come up with some ideas. And out of that is going to come your use cases. So start documenting and prioritizing. Come up with your ROIs. That's one thing with our assessments. That's a very popular piece, is like where we actually sit down with somebody and say, here's our 20 use cases and here's some of the ROI discussions behind it. So that way we know which ones to tackle first. The third, I think, is so very, very, very important. Create an AI sandbox or test environment. Give your employees a safe space to go through and test their AI use cases. Folks, they are doing it right now, whether you give them a sandbox or not. And do you really trust your security of your data to somebody and their mobile device? I hate to be the pessimist, but I don't. So we see that happen all the time, and we partner with Microsoft to do this with a lot of our customers to create, a low cost, maybe even costing neutral sandbox to at least let the developer start playing with this and start saying, hey, yes, this is a valid use case. And then to finally deploy your AI platform. Remember, a lot of you already have data lakes and data warehouses and all of these components. AI is just an add-on to this. So make sure you talk to somebody, and we'd love to have a conversation with you, about how do we add on pieces and make our data estate ready for AI. It's really not as hard as you think it is. Because right now I'm evaluating build versus buy. I have a lot of friends right now who are saying, hey, we need to do AI startups. I'm going to get millions of dollars of private equity funding. I'm like, it's going to be standard functionality in 3 months. And I will tell you, out of my friends who have come, 80% of them, everything has become standard functionality. It's actually easier now to build your applications than it is to buy them. So by setting up your platform, partnering with the right person, really, that's going to lead to you giving quality AI solutions. So folks, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope that what I was showing you showed some interesting use cases. If you have any questions, about the sessions, get in touch with us. There's ask@quisitive.com. They will make sure that your questions get routed. I'd love to answer them in real time. But in typical fashion, I've kind of ran over my time. So, but send them in, I wouldn't be a good professor if I didn't say this. There's no such thing as a dumb question, and there really truly isn't. Talk to us, ask about our experience at what we've seen with our customers, because folks are still very much at the starting line. Some are further than that, but we would love to partner with you all and talk about what the future looks like. So, my name is Jimmy Ledbetter, and I would love to pass it back to Mike Reinhardt.
Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate all the great insight that you shared with our team members here today, and know that they've all taken away a great amount of interest and insight from it. Again, I want to say thank you to all of you for the opportunity to join us today. Appreciate the support. Know you're going to have a great day interacting and listening to the sessions that our team has put together, and encourage you again to take advantage of asking questions and using this as an opportunity to learn and grow. Thank you so much for participating in Quisitive's Unite conference, and look forward to a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, team.